Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here with another exclusive video for YoVideogames, and today I'm going to talk about something that I know a lot of other people have already covered, but I thought I'd basically jump in and share my 2 cents and kind of give you my own little feedback, and that is, of course, we're talking about Super Nintendo World. Now, I did talk about this on my stream, but it was a little disjointed, and I kind of wanted to make a more concise, clear video, for YouTube, for everyone to just sort of quickly reference. Anyways, let's get right into it without further ado. So, yeah, I'm a little late to the party for Super Nintendo World, but that's okay. I kind of enjoy having the full, normal public experience for this stuff because I feel like it gives a more authentic, realistic review for most people rather than people who go in on a special event or they get a special preview. So it's kind of like, it's not really the, your experience is going to be tainted or enhanced by having the full crowd size and everything there. So this is going to be a review of what it's like to go on a absolutely normal day to Super Nintendo World in Hollywood, California. So yeah, I went a little bit later. I wanted to go for my girlfriend's birthday. We had a wonderful time. That's like the one thing, if you want to take away from anything, great time, great experience. I'm going to break it down for you right here, right now. So the first thing we did was actually at the start of the day was go into the Toadstool Cafe because this thing sells out real quick. First things first, it's got a lot of presentation on it. All the windows are not windows. They're actually, really high quality screens that show either Chef Toad, talking to you when you're waiting, to go to the counter service. And again, this is a counter service restaurant. This is not a go and sit down at a table, a waiter comes over and takes your, it's not like that. It's like a Five Guys. So you're gonna go up, you're gonna order your food, and then you're gonna get seated to a table by a waiter, and they come and bring you the food after you've ordered it at a counter. All that being said, yes, the inside and interior is really cool. It's very much modern Mario aesthetic. I really love the fact that the lighting kind of is nice and changes, and you got all the power-ups sort of all around the ceiling, and you have green pipes just sort of hanging down. And again, when you're in there in the seating area, there's windows to the outside Mushroom Kingdom. You just see Toads walking around. Sometimes you'll see Luigi. And then they do this really cool thing with the lights where they get really dim, and then you see the outside clouds swirl in, and then Bowser's airship comes in and starts shooting bullet bills everywhere, and then it goes away and then it comes back. So I really gotta stress how much I enjoyed this. You're really gonna enjoy this if you're a big Mario fan. If you know nothing about Mario, you're probably gonna feel like this is nice but whatever. But I mean, I don't know why you'd be rushing to beat the crowds to Toadstool Cafe if you weren't at least a little bit interested in Mario. The one thing I do really want to stress, and this is going to get brought up a lot, is the music. Oh my god, the music is great because they use a lot of Mario themes. They don't just play World 1-1 over and over. They actually play a lot of Mario Galaxy music, Mario Odyssey, Mario 3D World. And here's a crazy cool thing. They're actually slight remixes. They're slower, jazzier versions of Gusty Garden, Good Egg Galaxy, stuff like that. Wonderful stuff. I absolutely love that. It's the only time I've ever been in a restaurant where I knew every song that's played over, over the speakers. So that's amazing. And the presentation extends into the food because all the food has lots of little quirks. You'll have coins that are basically frosted sugar cookies that look like a Mario coin. You'll get little crackers that look or little bread things that look like power-ups, like fire flowers or whatever. Me personally, I got the fire flower pasta, which is a spicy pasta version. My girlfriend got a burger with Mario. And here's the cool thing: there was a little Mario figure that was kind of used instead of a toothpick, and there was a flagpole, and we got to keep them. You actually get to keep those, so that's actually really cool. And then there's other stuff that they sell out really quickly. I do have to say that, and I'll probably get to that later into the cons, but half the menu items were sold out when we went, including these soda containers that look like a 1-up or a power-up mushroom. And those were gone at the start of the day. They were we went after a holiday weekend, so there you go, I guess. But yeah, they are having trouble keeping stock there. And as far as the food taste itself goes, here's what I would say is that it's absolutely better than traditional theme park food that you normally get. However, it's probably not the highest quality food. Okay, for example, for counter service, I would say the Harry Potter Hogsmeade area, Three Broomsticks, that food is higher quality for counter service style food. But it doesn't have anywhere near the presentation. It's very much just here you go. Here's some English pub food. This one is actually unique and uniquely themed, the food itself before you eat it. So I would say it's above average. It's not quite as good as, say, Three Broomsticks. It's not as good as, say, something like I believe the Atlas restaurant in Florida, or it's not as good as Blue Bayou in Disneyland if you're lucky enough to get in there, which good luck on that. But it's still good. It's still above average. It's still, is it worth the money? I would say so, yes. I would say I did not feel ripped off in any way from it, so it is theme park. It's theme park pricing, so it's like, it's like a little bit higher than what you get. But nowadays, if you're not on some application for a fast food place, like you go to a Carl's Jr., you're probably going to spend as much or more than you would in the Toadstool Cafe going to a Carl's Jr. today, or Hardee's for all you East Coasters. That being said, like, I actually have really not much negative to say about the Toadstool Cafe. Again, I'll get to the negatives later, but mostly just the fact that they didn't have stock on a lot of items. Moving on, let's talk about the Mario Kart ride itself, Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. The line queue is very interesting because we have a unique line queue that will be unique just to Hollywood, and that is the sort of overflow areas are designed to look like Yoshi's Island. And there's a bunch of different rooms, and we went through the full line queue, and every room that they wind you through is painted a different level from Yoshi's Island. That this is like, general grasslands, the areas where like the chain chomps, jump down on you. There's the cave level you go to. And every single room plays specific music to that level from Yoshi's Island. So they are like really going in on the theming. And then if like the emergency exit doors, they look like Yoshi's Island's doors with the boarded up wooden nail planked boards, like, X's don't go through them. So every single thing, and the signage in the Yoshi's Island is done in the chalkboard style of Yoshi's Island. Everything is like music and painting and presentation. Everything is meant to be exactly like Yoshi's Island. So this line queue is somewhat reminiscent of the line queue for the Yoshi's ride in Japan and what will be in Florida we don't get. So they're kind of like taking that queue there, or that portion of that line queue, putting it over here because we don't have a Yoshi right here. So that's pretty incredible. And then when you finally get to the front, you start going into Bowser's Castle, and that's again also heavily themed. The music is all, you'll when you're in the outside, you'll hear Bowser's Star Reactor from Mario Galaxy, and then you'll hear some like the Ghost Mansion music in some hallways. You'll hear like Bowser's music from like the new Super Mario Brothers series and others. Tons and tons of details all over Bowser's Castle. Like, he has like a whole book collection, stuff like the Double Dash Years. Inside Story is the name of a book. 20 Years in Sarasahala Land, or whatever, where Daisy's from. So it's like there's so many tiny little details, and it's hard to catch them all because they're everywhere. You almost would need to go through that part of the queue multiple times to catch everything, because once you're in like the Bowser's Castle, the line actually moves fairly quickly. Again, the music is tailored in every single part of it. Now, as for the ride itself, here's what a lot of people probably didn't get, and I don't know if you're late to the party like me, maybe you're not aware of this. This is not a high-speed ride. This is a shooting gallery ride. This is a ride reminiscent of Toy Story Mania, Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters, not Ass Blasters. I will never say that correctly, apparently. And the Men in Black ride in Universal Studios Florida. So this is a shooting gallery ride, but it is a new technology style shooting gallery. If anything, if you're familiar with Microsoft HoloLenses, it's like that. So before you get on the ride, you get a Mario visor. That looks like Mario's cap, and you can adjust it in the back. It's not a full VR headset or anything. It's just a visor that goes over your head. And then when you get on the ride, there's these corded clear glasses that you snap in magnetically to the Mario visor you're wearing. And what the glasses do when they connect to your visor is they project imagery of Mario characters, the heroes and villains, on the racetrack that you're going through. And again, this is not a high-speed ride. This is a dark ride, for lack of a better term. If you've been on something like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, or Snow White at Disneyland or Alice in Wonderland, it is a dark ride. And it has real practical props all throughout the ride, and it goes through basically a medley of different Mario Kart tracks. But again, this is not a high-speed ride. It's sort of like it like winds a lot, and then you're seeing projected Mario characters on your glasses. Now, the point of the ride is because everything has a game theme in Nintendo World. Is that you can kind of turn the cart, you can twist it a bit, and you try to move into item boxes on the projected lenses. Then you get shells. You get a number of shells, like 20 shells, 30 shells, whatever. And then there's little buttons on the steering wheel for you to fire those shells off of it. You fire the shells at the bad guys. Try not to hit the good guys. That is the point of the game. Is that as you're going through these little Mario Kart areas, you're trying to hit the Koopa Kids and you're trying to hit Bowser and you're trying to get the highest score. And then you can actually lose at the game too, because at the end you get a unique ending whether you win or lose, depending on how much you hit Bowser. You have to get I believe the point is to get 100 coins. You also get 100 coins for drifting, so you'll see arrows go left and right, and that means you need to turn the wheel, like in the drifting, in the position that the HoloLenses are telling you to drift in. Now my overall impression of this is like, this is a very much, your mileage may vary. If you like shooting gallery rides, if you like interactive rides, I think you'll probably really like Mario Kart. If you were expecting something like Radiator Springs Racers or Test Track in Florida, you will be disappointed because this is not a speed thrill ride. And I know for some people that's going to seem almost sacrilegious from Mario Kart, but you got to also remember, Mario Kart is something that is beloved by everyone of every age around the world. There was no way Nintendo was going to do a ride that was going to have a height limit, for the really younger set. Now, you might say, well, Radiator Springs Racers lets, somewhat small kids go on there, or chaperoned kids go on there. That is kind of true, but there's also the logistics of space, which Hollywood and Japan just did not have. And then there's just the fact that, like, a high-speed ride will, they want kids to enjoy it. They don't want kids to just be able to go on the ride. They want kids to enjoy it. So if kids are on a ride that's really more about presentation and more about interactivity, that's going to appeal to more people than a high-speed ride. So I kind of get what they were going for here. Just know that, if you were expecting something more, or something like, if you were expecting something like the Harry Potter ride, the Forbidden Journey, or God forbid Hagrid's motorbike, you're just not going to get that. You're going to get a ride that's just sort of like a celebration of interactivity and just Mario Kart in general. That being said, I kind of don't think the lenses are big enough. This may come down to me having a big ass fucking head, but if you look a little bit too much to the left, right, or below, when you look below the lens, it cuts off. So like your coin counter, your shell counter, I literally lose track of that if I look too far down below, if I look just off the lenses or to the sides of the lenses. So you're not getting this sort of like 360, virtual reality like experience, because again, it's just lenses in the front of your face. So you have to be very careful about that. Also, you aim with the middle of your forehead. You do not aim with a cursor or with the steering wheel. Something a lot of people kind of like forget a lot. But anyways, again, mileage may vary. This is a dark ride mixed with shooting gallery ride. That's what this kind of thing is. I think if you're aware of that going in, you'll probably have a much better time with this. Again, if you were looking for something like the Mummy for some oddball reason, or even like the Transformers ride at Universal, or this Universal Spider-Man ride, you might be disappointed. That being said, I think the closest thing to compare this to would be Web Slingers, the Spider-Man ride at Disneyland California Adventure. And is this ride better than that? Oh yes, God yes. This is a much better ride than Web Slingers Spider-Man ride. That is. Ugh. But that kind of, speaking of which, that's just a Kinect game. And speaking of which, let's talk about the games. Super Nintendo World is more than just, hey, look, we painted an area to look like Mario. Because the overall presentation of the whole land itself is very much a playground. It is a playground for anyone to play in. You have these power-up bands that do cost extra money, and they let you kind of interact with stuff all over. There are things you can interact with without having a power-up band. In fact, you could even still play the games without a power band, but you don't get anything for it. So what you do if you have the power-up band is, with the Universal app, you go around and there's a bunch of mini games you can play. And these things include like turning a crank really fast. There's a really fun one inside a cave area where there's where the thwomp comes down in front of, and it's basically like this giant panel of blue blocks that you have to touch to turn yellow. It's a very common Mario mini game thing. Anyways, you got to do this in a certain amount of time. And then there's other things like a Piranha Creeper, where there's this area full of like clocks, and there's a big giant animatronic piranha creeper, and you have to hit these clocks as they go off, as fast as you can, or else the thing like wakes up and gets big and starts chomping. And there's more to it than that, because the thing is, when you have the power-up band and you have these mini games, there's actually stamps, which are literally video game Xbox gamer achievement points. You get these stamps on the app and on your profile that are literally gamer achievement, and they are in everything. They're in the land, they're on the ride. There's a whole bunch of stuff we're doing in the Mario Kart ride. There's like Easter eggs galore. And I think one of the coolest things to me was we went to this one area where there's like this little hidden staircase in a corner, and then at the top of it, you get out on this balcony in this icy world, and there's these binoculars. There's one for adults and one for kids. And you look around, and it does like the 3D, or it does like holographic projection around the land. You look through the binoculars. They're from 3D World. They're styled like that. And you can literally see like Mario characters and item boxes literally imposed over the land that you look down on the actual visual crowd. But then there's Easter eggs. Like if there was a stamp that said "Find Rosalina" in the binoculars. So you look up into the sky and you'll see like a shimmer glowing way up in the sky. And if you zoom in on that, it zooms into space, and you see the Comet Observatory and Rosalina flying around, and then you get like a stamp for that on your app. And that's just really cool. Now, what is the point of all these? Well, if you do one of the main mini games like the block changing or the piranha creeper or the crane turning, you get a key coin from the Mario games, and when you have 3 key coins in Hollywood, you can go and do Bowser Jr.'s challenge, which we didn't get to do because of a lot of crowds. We got 2 keys. Anyways, it's basically a connect game. You go into an area and you basically have to wave your hands around and like whack things out of the air, like on this projected screen in front of you. Which is funny because this is sort of like a game reward that anyone can do, who is visiting Super Nintendo World, and that is the entirety of the Spider-Man ride in California Adventure. So this is just like a bonus on top of other games you play for it. So that's like actually, it's kind of like a fun little neat thing. Again, this all adds to the playground atmosphere of the park. And then there's just coins. There's just random blocks and coin blocks, and you can just run up and you can punch under them, and you hear the little coin noise go off, and you get a bunch of coins on your account. And so there's like a point-based account thing. There's like a worldwide leaderboard. This is just everything just fun. Like everything about this park was designed in a way to just maximize the space and maximize playing, because again, this is interactivity. This is Nintendo World. This is not just we don't just want you to see the stuff. We want you to interact with the stuff, and that's really taking it to the next level, because like Harry Potter, Hogsmeade really kind of got the ball rolling with this, with their wand magic stuff, and this is really the next level of that. So overall, I think the big thing is that this makes really great use of its space. And the thing I really want to emphasize here is that every single corner, nook, cranny, hallway, everything is musically synced to what it should be. When you go in through Peach's Castle, you hear the Peach's Castle music from Mario 64. When you're just in a tiny hallway that's just underground, you will hear underground music from New Super Mario's or Mario 3D World. When you're in the bathroom, you hear underwater music from New Super Mario Brothers, and everything's all painted blue, and there's a big mural of like underwater scenes above the hand washing sinks. Every single bit and part of the Super Nintendo World, including just the big outdoor spot in the middle, is playing unique music to fit that situation. It reminds me of being in one of the really good booths that Nintendo would build at E3 when they would go all out some of the years they went. And they would just be blasting Nintendo music. It's just this big party. And we were there at the beginning of the day. We were there in the evening at sunset. We got to see it all get lit up and stuff. There's just tons of animatronics just moving and walking around all the time. The best thing I can really say is that they didn't have a lot of space to work with here. It's in the back corner of the park, and they've basically maximized the space so brilliantly, both by just how they used it, and both using staircases and using balconies, and doing that, just being able to like multi-level layer it and stuff. And they really did a really bang up job of making this area like maximize everything that they have to work with. So this actually gives me a lot of faith, because like sometimes people say like, oh, if they want to build a new area in a Hollywood park or any, so maybe somewhere that's not Florida, they say, well, they don't really have the space to do this. And I think the Super Nintendo World, if anything, really shows what really careful planning and just sort of maximizing everything and building vertically instead of horizontally can really do for a place. Like when you're exiting the park through a different warp pipe, it plays like Mario World credits music, like a remix of that. Just incredible stuff. If there's any downsides to it right now, is that Here's the real downside kind of is not really something that's in its control, which is right now everyone is really trying to get to it. We went through the experience of trying to do all the stuff on a normal regular day, and people are just there and they're playing it. And what this does is this does clog up the mini games, especially for those key coins. You are going to start waiting in pretty long lines. If you want to get a photo, you're going to wait in a pretty long line because like they have Peach and the Mario Brothers coming out like all the time now, and it's just like. It's always lines, because there's so many people who want to participate in this. So just doing a simple thing such as, turning a crank really fast to like get a Goomba to run on a rolling hill, that can be like a significant wait just to do that at the moment. That'll go away after time, obviously, but this is a thing where it's just like, yeah, well, everyone wants to have that experience, and you can't just rush having a great experience, and they don't rush people. So the one thing too is that yes, this is a smaller place. They've done some smart things, though. I don't want to like give it like too much, smack. But in Super Nintendo World in Hollywood, there's only one gift shop and there's only one cafe. I think if any con you can kind of say is the fact that like, yeah, we're missing the Yoshi ride, we're missing like the popcorn stand. But here's the thing: Hollywood actually did its due diligence by moving the popcorn stand out of Super Nintendo World. They placed it in the plaza between Nintendo Land and Jurassic World area. And then they actually put Nintendo stores on the upper level, both at the top of the park, and then they put a Nintendo store at City Walk outside of the theme park. So there's not just one store only in the park where you can get Nintendo stuff. They actually put a Nintendo-themed store outside of the park, and they put one at the front of the park, and then they put the popcorn stand, right outside of Nintendo World, and then of course you have the One-Up Factory inside the park, which is where the Mario Kart ride comes out of. So they're doing some smart things in Hollywood by just maximizing efficiency and space, what they have. It is a little bit of a bummer. Again, the other bummer is that like our food at the Toadstool Cafe is a smaller menu than what they have currently available in Japan. I imagine it'll probably be smaller than what they get in Florida. This confuses me the most because I can't really sit there and say, oh, well, they don't have space to make food. I'm like, of course they have space to make food. They have a giant kitchen. They seat hundreds of people every hour. Like, this is one I just don't really get. I understand some food items are kind of very Japanese-centric, but just the fact that like some foods didn't get a replacement. They just don't have it in Hollywood. And some foods are kind of just a straight downgrade. Now, we saw the Peaches cupcake that they serve in Hollywood. That's actually a pretty big cupcake. I'm not going to give it too much crap for size. You're getting a decent-sized cupcake for it. But in Japan, they give you a little mini cake that has a little letter from Peach, like in Mario 64. So it's kind of like feels a little bit ripped off to see that Hollywood, they get the Peach's cake and we get we just get a cupcake over here. The big ones for me are there's a lot of like cream melon soda stuff for Yoshi in Japan, and we just don't have that out here because melon soda for some reason is not a thing that has caught on in North America. Which, if you like sodas, guys, please go to a Cost Plus or something, buy a melon soda at your local ramen shop or something, and just discover the world of brilliance that a melon cream soda will give you. So we can get that in Hollywood. So yeah, that's a little bit of a con, is that I don't agree with. And I don't think there's any logical good reason to shorten the menu as much as they did for Toadstool Cafe. Everything about Toadstool Cafe is great, but it is kind of annoying to know that, hey, in Japan there is definitely a bigger food menu, and Florida might get a bigger food menu there too. To wrap it up, I do want to give about a little bit into some future expansion ideas, which is, where do they go from here? Because they really this feels like they did everything they could with what they had. Looking at Nintendo World and looking at it from the tram tour perspective, there is, I still feel, ways to expand this, but with this expansion ideas would come at the cost of another. It feels like there is space if they wanted to expand it to the immediate right of Super Nintendo World, if they did want to put Donkey Kong Land in, the same Donkey Kong Land that is going into Japan, that is going into Florida. And that would be at the cost of the Transformers ride. Which to me, I don't think anyone would miss, because again, it is Bayformers, it's not even G1. I think overall, I understand wanting to have a diverse amount of rides and characters and franchises, but Transformers is a Hasbro and Paramount joint production. It's not even really a Universal production, not that Nintendo is a Universal production either, but if you go down in a Super Nintendo World and you see everyone who's coming to the parks right now, which their attendance has tripled, if not quadrupled, right now than it normally has at this time of year. as of the making of this video, you'll see that people love Mario. People are here for Mario. Kids are here for Mario. Adults are here for Mario. Their parents are here for Mario. The only ones who are not here for Mario is the boomer-ass grandparents who have no idea what they're doing anyways. So really, this is something that they're tapping into. That it's been there. It's been waiting there. It just kind of feels like, I don't know what took so long for somewhere like Universal or Disney to miss this boat for so long, because people absolutely love this, because it is done well. So I would say, like, if they wanted to, they could convert like some more of the back lot that's currently mostly parking and the Transformers ride into a Donkey Kong Land. You could have a Mario and a Donkey Kong Land in Hollywood if you wanted to, but that will come at the expense of the Transformers ride. I mean, I don't think anyone would miss it. Let me know if you would miss it if it did go away, or you don't like that idea. But the Donkey Kong Land with the Donkey Kong coaster is probably something more, I think more people would be sort of expecting, because like, even though neither in Japan or Florida has the Donkey Kong coaster been completed or opened, what we've seen and what we know about it, it kind of feels that might be more the ride people were kind of expecting, because it's closer in something like Hagrid's motorbike coaster. It definitely feels like it. And if you don't know, short version, it's a Donkey Kong minecart roller coaster. I don't know what else needs to be said there. And that's probably a little more in line with what people had expectation was, with like a thrill ride based on a Nintendo property. But this really does add a lot to, you know, your day at Universal Studios Hollywood. I think it's pretty crazy, because this is something that came out, you know, within my lifetime, was seeing the rise of Nintendo. So it's kind of in a weird sort of way. I feel like I'm there at the beginning. Like, I'm there for the Steamboat Willie moment, you know, or the dawn of Popeye, where it's like Disneyland is cool, and I love the new Mickey Mouse shorts, and the new Mickey Mouse ride is great over there. But it's like Mickey Mouse has been around since long before I was born. And Nintendo World is kind of neat, because I was there, you know, at the dawn of you know, the NES, you know, coming out in America. So this is kind of incredible for me to see, because like I you know, it's watching something that was brand new, introduced to me, you know, in my lifetime, and then it just kind of grew and grew and grew and blew up, and now we're really seeing like multi-generational love of this franchise and stuff come together. The only other really con, and I'll say this is like last little con, there is nothing Nintendo-wise outside of Mario. It is strictly Super Mario Brothers related. That does kind of paint a picture that Nintendo is Mario and nothing else, which is a bummer. And I think this is the merchandising opportunity that Universal and Nintendo are kind of missing out on. There should absolutely 100% be a Kirby Cafe, maybe somewhere else in Universal Studios or in City Walk. There should be Kirby merchandise. There should be Pokemon merchandise. Granted, I know that's a whole other company you have to go through, but still, they're doing it in Japan already with Pokemon stuff. There should be, you know, Donkey Kong stuff as well. There should be Zelda stuff. There should be little corners inside one of the stores. It doesn't have to be a whole land, just some area of the store that sells Metroid merchandise, F-Zero merchandise, Xenoblade merchandise. You think I wasn't going to mention that? And, you know, haha. So there you go. There is a bit of a missed merchandise opportunity by just focusing on just Super Mario Brothers. And it's not even all of Super Mario Brothers yet. Like, we're still missing stuff like where's Dry Bones? You know, where's like some of the more obscure Mario character stuff? Right now they're selling a lot of Boo merchandise stuff, but it's like, cool, Boo, but like, let's get some other more obscure, you know, characters, or just like little off center, you know, off popularity Mario characters as well. But like, other than that though, like, I feel like Nintendo and Universal really need to, like, okay, open up, dude. People will absolutely buy tiny little bits of merchandise for other franchises. It's more than just Mario. But maybe that's in the planning. Maybe that's what they want to do years down the road. I don't know. I just think that they could easily plan this out, like, and just start selling merch from other Nintendo franchises, and it would probably do well. It doesn't have to be a whole land. Just, man, you could get away with it. Anyways, that is my review for Super Nintendo World. If you've been there in Japan or Hollywood, let me know what you think. If you're stuck in Florida, I apologize, but, you know, hey, it's coming in a couple years. It's going to be great. But yeah, I don't envy your humidity. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the channel. Later, dudes.